Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Today we've got Mike Holt returning from Common Law Australia. The last time he was on the channel it was a super popular episode, and today we're going to be diving into his electoral reform about how do we overthrow and remove the government legally and build out a new framework for proper governance that represents the true views of the people, and how might this all work, go hand in hand with the law and all that other structural reform. So welcome back to the show, Mike.
Thank you.
You've
Nice
had
to
a
be back.
You've had a big boost in numbers. You're just telling me you're now getting millions of views and stuff. So you're doing some great work on Instagram and all that, getting these messages out to people. But today I want you to give people the explanation of this new system and this blockchain-based voting app that's going to actually get a true representation of people's views and decision making and hold people accountable if they don't do what the people want.
Right. Okay. Well, let's share the screen here. And if I can find it, where is it?
Down the
There we
bottom, if you click share, then share screen, then entire window, it should bring up whatever's on your end.
go. Right. There we go. Okay. So basically, this is going to be a voting app. Now, this is an integral part of the five-point plan. And step one is to put the power back into the hands of the people to give them citizens-initiated referendums. So this voting app, which is on the blockchain, is an integral part of that. And the way it will work is you log in, and once you've registered, you have to vote at least once a month to get all the benefits of what we're offering. Now, I can't tell you too much at this stage what we're offering because we're still negotiating and organizing everything. But it is underway, and when it gets going, basically what's going to happen is we're going to attract people away from the GovCorp system, and they're going to want to come onto our system because it puts the power in the hands of the people. But more than that, it empowers us in many other ways. And right now, I've been told not to talk about that in too much detail, but this will give you an idea of what the voting app will look like. So this is where you come and vote. This is the actual voting screen here. This is your network, so like social media. So we're going to give you that. A marketplace where you can buy and sell stuff using the AB coin. And that's the Australian Bitcoin, I guess you could call it. But it's based on the value of all our in-ground assets and our gross national product, which is where all the money should be coming from, right? And then we've got your account and your profile. So it's already there. We're now developing this app, and once it's ready to release, we will. I'll just stop sharing there. We'll be letting you know. So how is this all going to work? Well, it's no good attracting people away from GovCorp, the GovCorp system, because we're all very deeply entrenched in that, whether we like it or not. But we do have a plan for the future. So why don't you share the screen and I'll explain it as we go.
Yeah, what do you want me to bring up? That's step
Uh,
three,
yeah,
five
step
part
three.
plan? Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
much easier for you to do it than me.
Cool, cool, cool. So,
Right.
step one?
Yep, that'll do. No, step three is good. Step one and two, we've just covered basically with the voting app and putting the power in the hands of the people.
Yep.
Okay, so obviously, we're going to have to change the way people approach politics. And one of the big problems that we face is that the political parties dominate our political structure at the moment. And that is not what our Constitution was designed to do. Back in 1900, when Queen Victoria signed the Constitution into law, it was actually a British Parliament Act. And when she signed that into law, it was enacted in January the 1st, 1901. And it basically is a workplace contract between we, the people of the Commonwealth of Australia, and the Parliament. Now, what our founding fathers couldn't envisage in those days was how the political parties would take control of our Parliament from day one. And basically they have completely negated our constitution and our rights. So now we have a dictatorship of the political parties, which of course are then aligned with the World Economic Forum, the UN, and this is why we've got the UN telling us what to do. I never voted for that, did you?
No, and I mean, we saw that stat out yesterday. 9 out of 10 new jobs in Victoria, people are on the government payroll. We're already effectively nearly there, where everyone is completely dependent on government.
Yeah, well, that's got to stop because government is totally incompetent. They can't manage anything at all. And we've seen that throughout all of, the last 5 years, even the COVID thing. That was a grand failure, although for some people it was very successful. But at the end of the day, the government couldn't maintain it. And now they're threatening to bring in digital ID. How long do you think that's going to last before it falls over? I mean, first of all, there's a lot of hackers around there who are quite capable of hacking into all of that data. I am not going to put my data out there for any hacker to get. So I'm not going to be registering for digital ID. And there are ways to get around that. But let's talk today about what plans we have for getting rid of this government and initiating a whole new different government structure. Now, I was actually going to do a little video. I try and do a daily video each day now to explain things to people, because most people are not really aware. And as I put out a video yesterday, I talked to two people yesterday, a taxi driver and what I call my vampire. She was taking a blood sample from me, and neither of them had heard of Agenda 21 or Agenda 2030. And this is essential for people to understand. This is the plan that the UN and the WEF have for every country in the world. They want total domination. And our system will pull the rug out from under them and put the power into our hands to tell the government what they have to do. Now, I mentioned the Constitution before, and basically what it does is it lays out what the politicians are allowed to do in Parliament, in our Parliament. Now, that building you see there in Parliament today where they all sit, that's not our Parliament. Our Parliament is the original Commonwealth Parliament, which sits down the hill and has now been turned into a museum, I believe, although I don't know what museum exhibits it has. But whatever it is, that is where our real Parliament should be sitting. So the one up on the hill there, that's not ours. That is a private corporate building.
Yes.
It doesn't belong to us.
And I don't want to cut you off, Mike, but I've got a video coming out about all the occult and pagan symbology with that new building and the setup and everything. It's worse than the Vatican and Washington, D.C.
Yeah. Well, they like to shove it in our faces in ways that most people are not aware of. But yeah, let's get down to what it is all about, though.
Yep.
So once we get people over to the new system, and that's going to take a bit of work because we're going to have to rethink and rewire our brains. How can we get out of the system? And when we do, what can we do? Well, we have a plan. It's called futureplan.earth. Now, this is only the ideas that we're putting forward for people to consider. This is may not be what we end up with. But hey, we've got to start somewhere. And if we don't have a plan, we can't go anywhere, can we? So let's just scroll up there a little bit, Alex. This is the proposed government structure. So we're going to reduce the electorates from about 100,000 in each electorate down to 50 voters. Sorry, 5,000 voters. Oh, dear me, 50 voters wouldn't do much.
Yeah.
So we reduce the size of the electorate down to 5,000 voters, and we choose one of our own from our electorate to represent us in a regional government. And that regional government will consist of 50 of those small electorates, each one voting in their representative. And those 50 electorates will, if we get our way, sit at a round table so that there's no bipartisanship. Everybody is sitting at that table as a representative of their 5,000 voters. That's it. And they are there to do a job to represent our wishes and to carry it out. And so what the regional government will do is to appoint a massive, well, not a massive, but a large council. So basically what we'll be looking for is the best of the bureaucrats in the councils today, plus other people with specific talents who are going to be hired by the regional government to perform specific tasks to manage our region. That will include roads, electricity, water, sewerage, parks, etc., etc. It will not include their ability to fine us and tax us and rate our properties, etc., etc. They don't have that power in the Constitution, and they certainly won't have it when we take back the power into our hands. So once we have a regional government, that each representative will be directly accountable back to the electors in their electorate, and they can be recalled and replaced at any time if they do not perform according to the wishes of the electorate. And that voting app is how we will do it. So if a lot of people in the electorate say, "Oh, look, we're not happy with this guy's performance. I'm going to put up a question on the voting app, and let's see how many people would back him being sacked and replaced with somebody else that we can vote for." So this is direct democracy, right? And the regional council will be directly accountable to the regional government to provide services to the community. And of course, the regional government will be directly accountable back to the voters. So we will get the government that we want, not what the political parties that dictate. And I think you can already see here, Alex, that once we get this system implemented, there will be no need for political parties and not even states or state governments. We might keep the states for footy, but, that's all. Okay.
Yeah, I think the most important things that you've touched on there, Mike, are the direct accountability, which is just absolutely zero of today when, Albo or whatever party, they're all pushing this same agenda. Whatever it is, mandates or lockdowns or, the Lima agreement we discussed last time to gut our manufacturing, like all these things that nobody wants and nobody voted for. None of these people should be able to walk down the street in a normal society where you're directly accountable. But the problem is that they're not. They're hidden away in Canberra and whatnot. So this is direct accountability is so important.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing when you hear from the government. They send you these unsigned letters from nobody and expect us to obey them. Well, I'm sorry, no, I'm not doing that anymore. And so I've got a letter here right now from Spur demanding that I pay them something like $14,000 for stupid fines, which I never asked people to do. I never voted for a government to allow them to fine me for not obeying their silly rules. Okay, road safety is important, but there's better ways to do it. For instance, education. Instead of giving a license to somebody after just a few lessons, make them do a course in school. Learn how to drive at school, right? In high school. When they reach, say, 14, they begin driving lessons, and they don't qualify for a driver's license until they graduate. Right? So there's a further incentive for them to stay at school and learn, because you won't be able to drive unless you get your certificate, high school certificate. Yeah. Good idea?
Yeah, I love all these ideas, Mike. My fear is that we're running out of time to do this. These people know they're losing control. That's why they're pushing digital ID so hard. And we've seen in Western Australia, raids on law-abiding citizen gun owners because of their, sovereign citizen or conspiracy or non-government ideology. Basically, if you're not going to do exactly what you say, they're going to start treating you as a threat and just a different set of rules. How is that legal to enter the homes and do these types of things because you're thinking differently? And not only that, this month in Australia, we've seen them shutting down bank accounts based on your ideology or social media posts or, groups that you're in and this type of stuff. So it's just getting out of control so fast, it's laughable.
Well, how much longer, when they keep doing these raids, how much longer is another Desi situation going to develop? Somebody's going to get out their guns and say, "Nah, over my dead body." And it might not be their dead body, it might be the cops. So the cops need to be very careful when they're carrying out these unlawful orders that they say no, because they know in their hearts, they must know, unless they're psychopaths, must know in their hearts that what they're doing is wrong, morally wrong, bankrupt. And if they decide to stand on the side of good, we will support them. We don't want cops to be going around targeting citizens or the people. I don't call them citizens. We are the people. And we're members of the Commonwealth. We are not citizens of the corporation. So anyway, look, just getting back to that plan, it also involves the federal government. Now, we have a perfectly good constitution. And if you read section 51, it lists a whole bunch of stuff that the federal government is responsible for. Nowhere in there does it say the federal government has the authority to give to state governments to fine us for speeding and not voting and all this sort of stuff, trying to force us to vote. And it doesn't say that in the Constitution. It states this is what our representatives must do. So how do we get representatives into the federal government? Well, there's been a lot of debate about this on my team and between others. Basically, what I say is, let's elect one person from the regional government. Remember, we had 50 electorates forming the one regional government. We set one person from the region as we send them into the federal parliament to represent us. And once again, directly accountable back to the regional government, directly accountable back to the voters, and recallable and replaceable. So, the whole system is very, very accountable. And I'm pretty sure, because I've run a few polls on Instagram and other places, and this is what the people want.
Yeah.
Right? We want accountable government. And if we can't get that, well, there's going to be trouble, because we're sick and tired of being dictated to by these moronic idiots in Parliament who don't know what they're doing. And so they just keep on spending our money.
Yeah.
For what?
Yeah.
So,
and this is in all different industries as well. Like you touched on, and we've seen this in other countries where the police stood with the people on a lot of these issues. And that's what we want to see. As you say, most people know that deep down they know that this is wrong. And we don't want to incite or encourage violence at all, because we know that is going to be used as a weapon against us to pass more laws and take away more freedoms if those sort of situations do unfold. But we need, whether it's in the health industry, and a lot of the people that I did uni with, doctors and pharmacists, nurses and stuff like that, they're seeing the corruption in the healthcare industry. So we need you to stand up and say no to your boss. I'm not going to enforce this, and let people have their own. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in. We need people to stop taking orders and stand up for what's right at every level of every organisation, and change will come about very quickly.
Well, this is what common law is all about. We only have two basic rules in common law. Do no harm to anyone and take responsibility for your actions, right? And most people today have been so brainwashed by the government into relying on the government, they've forgotten how to take responsibility. So they always say, oh, it was his fault, her fault. No, it's your fault for not standing up for your rights. And when you stand up for your rights, you protect my rights. So I don't like people who won't defend my rights. And therefore, I'm working to change this. But it's got to come from here first. Yeah. If people don't change the way they view government and their lives, we're never going to change. And every step, every journey begins with one step. And that first step must be maybe thinking about what's the right thing to do.
Yeah. So where are we at, Mike, with the development? I know you said you've got some decent sized backers with the app, and what's the sort of like rough timeline? And what I'm really excited about is, as your audience grows, and I've got a decent sized audience, and it's so easy to network now through social media, and something like this could easily have 1 million downloads within a week or two if the message spreads and it works really well. So that's why I think it's exciting. But where are you at with the execution of all this?
Well, right now the team is very busy developing the app, and it's not just one app. There are other apps behind that, because once you become a voter, then you get access to all these other benefits that are managed by the various apps. So there'll be a health app, a banking app, insurance app, and all this, but it will be managed by we the people, not by huge corporations. This has got to stop. The corporations must also be accountable back to the people. And maybe we've got to change the way we set things up. I don't know. But if we don't start making some major changes very soon, as you said before, we're going to go down the tubes, and I'm not prepared to do that. You know, I took an oath in 1965 when I joined the RAAF to protect this country and its laws. And that oath to me, and I know a lot of other veterans, still stands today. And the government needs to understand that we are veterans. And why are we veterans? Because the government put us into uniform and trained us to go out and defend our country. So we know how to defend. And that's not saying we're going to start a revolution, but we are starting a mental revolution. And we want people to learn, first of all, about their rights. So if I can share the screen here again.
Yeah.
Not quite sure how to do that. Now I've lost the thing.
Down the bottom, share screen, the entire window.
Yeah.
And just for people at home, Mike and I are going to try and do these episodes once a month and talk about, you know, the corruption in Australia and these new things they're pushing, the progress of this new system and all that type of stuff. So, guys, leave your comments on issues you want to see us tackle or, you know, that type of thing, because we want to get this start to be a really, you know, voice of the people, similar to, you know, the great work that Martin and John and plenty of others are now doing, trying to shine a light on everything that's actually happening.
Yeah. Okay, so this is the Corruption Whistleblower newspaper, and I work very closely with these guys. In fact, I made their website, although I didn't make this particular design, but I set up the original one, and since then I've been managing it for them. But you can go here, and I really highly recommend you go here to the Corruption Whistleblower newspaper and sign up, get your newspaper. You can read the paper online. And these are I'll just show you a quick vision here. Once you're logged in, you can actually read the whole thing here online, or you can order paper copies to be delivered to your home.
Yes.
Right? Or wherever you want. So it's very easy to read online. And I think it costs $5 every 3 months or something. So it's not exactly expensive. And it's definitely worth doing. And what I wanted to show you here is just go back here to the main menu. If you need to know what your rights are, go to commonlaw.earth. Just click on that button. And you come here to meetings. What is a common law assembly? So the bedrock of the idea that I put up before in the futureplan.earth, this is how it will be organized. We set up common law assemblies in each electorate. So each electorate will be a common law assembly where we, the people, meet once a month or once a week, whatever, and we decide what sort of government we want. So this is how it all works. And you can read all of this. Now, on the right-hand side here is where you can read how to do it. So this is a to-do list of how to start an assembly. If you are starting one up from the ground up, you will be called a convener. And then later on, a convener will be elected by the people, but the first person becomes the convener. And that person must know how to do it. So that's the to-do list. But they must also adhere to various things like a statement of values, a code of conduct, and the binding assembly constitution. Now, this is very important because once people sign this constitution and you have 12 people who've signed it in an assembly, you don't have to have 12 people to start an assembly, but once you get 12 people signing it, that becomes a legally bound or lawfully binding constitution between the members of the assembly to manage the government for the people. So the people will come to these meetings and say, well, look, I think we need to have a new park in this area. What do you say? And the assembly members who have signed the constitution will then vote on whether they do it or not. So only members who've signed the assembly constitution will be eligible to vote, right? Maybe, I don't know. This is all, just suggestions at this stage, but it's a way to set up our own government. And it's very important that we do it, because otherwise, if we're stuck in this particular situation now, we're never going to change because the political parties don't want us to. Now, I'll just give you an example. many years ago, I was a member of the Liberal Party up in Buderim in Sunshine Coast, and we had a member up there, Ted O'Brien, who is now the MP for us in Parliament. And I was pushing the Liberal Party to bring in an amendment to the Constitution to allow we, the people, to have a say by citizens-initiated referendums. Anyway, after a year of banging my head against a brick wall and getting nowhere, Ted O'Brien pulled me aside one day and he said, Mike, you better stop doing this because we're never going to accept citizens-initiated referendums. And I baited the hook. And I said, oh, really? Why? And he said, because it would take away the power of the political parties. And that's exactly what we need to do.
Yes.
So, but to do that, we need to know what our rights are. So you need to know what your Bill of Rights says, the Magna Carta, the Nuremberg Principles, and the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. All of these are designed to protect our rights. Do you know what your rights are? If you don't, you better learn them very quickly because otherwise you're just giving them away through ignorance. Yeah?
Fantastic, Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, so the knowing what your rights are, go on to commonlaw.earth and then click on meetings. You can also go to educate to learn more about what common law is all about. And this video here is excellent. This is an English guy, and he really explains it very, very clearly. Now, also, as I keep saying, knowledge is power, and we do offer courses on common law. So you can get, these are online education modules, and you can learn about Common Law 101, how to protect your rights, common law courts and how to use them and then set them up, and even the Australian Constitution explained in just 6 easy modules. Yeah. So all you got to do is go on here, buy now, and once you've got the course, you can go on there and study at any time. So it's very, very useful for that.
All those links will be down below, guys, to everything that Mike has mentioned. And yes, I've got my copy of the Corruption Whistleblower in the background there of every episode. So definitely I'll link that as well. But Mike, in the last few minutes here, we've spoke about the new system, but what are your thoughts on how we sort of bring those to justice with, treason? And we hear about, you touch on the common law and the things that they've actually broken. And is it smaller kangaroo court style stuff, or how do you think is the best way to bring about justice for those that have betrayed Australians?
That's a good question, and I'll show you here. Hang on a moment. Where are we here? I'm having trouble finding it now. Where is it?
Down the bottom, if you click on share, and then...
No, I think I just hit the wrong button before when I was sharing. Just a second.
Yeah, all right.
Get this one up. Yeah, there we go. So I'll just share the screen again. If you go back to Corruption Whistleblower and you click here, we're now offering people the chance to join a grand jury. So I'll just do that. Can you see that?
Yeah, yep.
Okay. So what is a grand jury? It's at least 25 people sitting as a jury, and people like you and me can come along to the grand jury and say, well, look, I have had a problem with so-and-so or this government department or whatever it is, and here is all my proof. So you come along to the grand jury, you present your proof, and I have a 500-page plus book of proof of all the treason and corruption and everything, the Dick Yardley Australian political and religious leaders, treason, treachery and sabotage book. And that's 500 pages of proof. But also the Corruption Whistleblower newspaper has all the corruption and treason that they've committed as well. So these grand juries, we come along and present this information to the jury, and then the jury decides whether there is enough information there to start indicting these people and inviting them to a common law court. So the grand jury is the first step. So if you come here to join a grand jury and then come down here, you can actually put your name down to become a member of a grand jury. And what we're doing there is we're collecting this information, and the next grand jury will probably be in December Melbourne, right?
Fantastic.
So we've had one in Canberra, we've had one in Sydney, and next one will be in Melbourne. But if you register here and we get enough people in your postcode or your city to hold a grand jury, then we will do it next year. Okay, so get your name and address down here. And we don't need your address. We just need your first, last name, city, town, or suburb, state, postcode, and your phone and email so that we can get in touch with you. Submit that, and that puts you into the list. And then we will send you an email to invite you to a grand jury one day. All right. So
Fantastic.
please do that and help us to get the word out there.
Fantastic. Well, is there any final thoughts, Mike? As I said to people at home, we do want to do this regularly, and after the success of that last episode and with everything happening in Australia, I'm really hoping this is going to be a popular show and people can share it around.
Well, I hope so too, Alex, because people really are at their wits' end now. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to get rid of this system because we all know it sucks. It's no use to us, and it's destroying our nation and our future, the future for our children and our grandchildren and so on. So we need to change the way we think. That's the first step. We need to start thinking perhaps political parties are not the answer. What is the answer? Well, let's start thinking about new ideas. So futureplan.earth is a new idea to consider. May not be the only one. I know there are other people out there who are trying to come up with new ideas as well. I read quite a long time ago an alternative constitution that about 100 Australians worked on at the turn of the century. And that's put out by a mate of mine called Lieutenant Colonel Charles Mollison. And he's got a lot of good ideas in that alternative constitution, but he has still not thought it all the way through because he's still going on the British model that we were saddled with by Queen Victoria, and that hasn't worked, has it?
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, guys, we do have to wrap it up today, but looking forward to having Mike back on. All those links that we mentioned down below, follow Mike and myself on socials, and we'll talk to you all again soon. Cheers, guys.
Yeah, my social is Common Law AU on X, on Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, all of them. So it's always Common Law AU, except on X. They blocked me, they banned me. So I'm hoping I'm going to be allowed back on soon. But you can still find me on Instagram and Facebook. So thank you very much, Alex, and I'll see you again.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.